Live from Fairfax, it's the Inside Scoop, Virginia. All the news Virginians want to know. Here's your host.
Good evening and welcome. I'm your host, Bettina Lawton, and this is Inside Scoop, Virginia. And tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. We've done a lot of shows on the General Assembly and what's going on, but we have some pretty important races coming up on May 1st. That's when a number of towns and cities in Virginia have town and city elections. And this is a great way. A lot of people start their political careers there, and we're going to be talking to two candidates tonight, one of whom is an incumbent, the other one is a challenger. Fortunately, they are in different races. But we have in the Herndon Town Council race, we have Sheila Olam, who is an incumbent and is running for re-election. And in the last two segments of our show, we'll have Catherine Reed, and she is a challenger, vying for an open seat in the Fairfax City Council elections on May 1st. These elections are pretty important, and they are sparsely voted. The recent election last week, and it was a special election down in Leesburg, the person won by 148 votes. So I want to encourage everybody to go out and vote because it really makes a huge difference in the participation. And this is where you live. So let's make sure that you have the people that you really want to do it. Welcome back. I'm Bettina Lawton, your host for Inside Scoop Virginia, and we have switched candidates. We now have Catherine Reed. She is a challenger. She's running for one open seat in the Fairfax City Council. And Catherine, welcome. You've been on the show before. Everyone knows you are the social media maven. So there is no confusion. You are the same person, the same Catherine Reed. So question for you. How many people? You've got one open seat. I guess because your mayor is retiring.
Yes.
And so you've council guys moving to the mayor.
Right.
To run for mayor. So that opens one seat. How many non-incumbents are running
We've got
for that?
three non-incumbents.
Right.
Non-incumbents. And it's an at-large race. So you've got 8 candidates running for 6 seats. 5 of those are incumbents. It rarely happens that an incumbent does not win re-election in Fairfax City.
Yeah.
So we look at it as if there are 3 candidates for one open seat. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And in Fairfax City, you've at least got some challenges, and obviously Herndon's got some big challenges. Vienna, nobody's running against the incumbents.
I know. And Edith Kelleher told me that, and she said, we don't have anybody running. And I shared that with a member of our council, too. And as much as you like to think, well, wouldn't it be great not to have to campaign as hard? I don't think it's healthy. I don't. I think people should, we're a democracy. We are a citizen government. When no citizen feels that they have something to offer or add, I think we should be concerned about that. Mm-hmm. I mean, and people have asked me why I'm running. It's because I think I have something to add, not because I think I have something to fix.
Okay.
And I think people should step up and say, well, okay, we have one open seat. Vienna does not have an open seat.
That's right.
But it's a healthy process to get everybody thinking in terms of what we're not considering or what might be new. David Meyer on our city council talks a lot about the wisdom of crowds, and that happens to be a favorite book of mine. I talk a lot about the wisdom of crowds, and it's about bringing in a diverse group of people, that's where you get the best solutions, the best results, is from diversity, bringing in people with new ideas. Even the most novice person has something to offer.
So is that what you
That's
have
me.
to offer?
Vote for me. I'm new.
You're new.
I'm a first-time candidate, so vote for me because I'm bringing that newbiness. I'm bringing the newbiness.
Well, the incumbents on the city council have been there for quite some time, though, haven't they? I mean, there's some people there, I looked at it,
Jeff Greenfield is the most senior person there. Scott Silverthorne, who's running for mayor, actually served on the council for 18 years before he left 4 years ago. And he's the one who's running for mayor.
Now.
We have other city council people who've been there 4 terms. Some that have been there 2 terms. Ellie Schmidt is the newest one. She's been there 1 term. Okay. And she is, at this juncture, the reason we have an open seat is because Joan Cross passed away. And she was also a long time, I think she had served 10 years. Okay. And she stepped down and she ultimately passed away, leaving an open seat. And she and Ellie were the only 2 women on the council. Just like you were talking about, I heard you talking with Sheila about the fact that, Lisa Merkel would be the first elected woman mayor. Well, we haven't had one.
Yeah. Well, you've got, I did notice, because I went to the Fairfax City Council website this afternoon to say who's on it and how big is it, sort of the basic research. And I was a little surprised because they're all white people. There's no racial diversity, unless somebody has it and it's just not obvious looking.
I don't think so. I don't think so. No, there's not a tremendous amount of diversity on the council, and I think that is something we need to do more outreach in our community. If you go, people have talked about going into the elementary schools and seeing the ethnic diversity in our city elementary schools. But when you look around town, and especially in our leaders, in commissions and boards, you don't necessarily see that breakdown.
Well, why? Why is that? Because I saw at the most recent census, you've got about a third of your citizens would fall into what we would call a diverse category, either Asians, Hispanics, or blacks.
Correct.
So there's a lot. It's not as if you have a 10% population to choose from. Are the folks not interested? Are they just in that category of people who are so busy trying to make a living and put their kids into colleges that they don't think about serving? Or
I think
is it outreach?
I think it comes down to having a very contented constituency. Okay. I mean, I've lived in Fairfax City, in the city proper, for 12 years. And when we switched over mayors from John Mason to Rob Lederer, that was probably like the most contentious race that I can recall since I've lived there. For the most part, we have a good city council, and they've been excellent stewards of the city. I don't think we have had the problems that, again, I heard you speaking with Sheila about. And there are other small towns and localities who've had divisiveness and things happening where it's polarized the community. I don't know that we have had anything in Fairfax City that has polarized. So they are very contented, and being very contented has meant that no one stepped forward around an issue, for instance. There's been no flag rallying cry around a particular issue. And so I think for the most part, people are very content with the city council they have, and with the exception of 1 or 2 seats opening, as you would expect in a city council, and being filled, many times by people who've been there for a long time. We have a lot of native people in Fairfax City serving on the city council, and they take great pride in the fact that they were born and raised there.
Right.
And I think that's terrific. We have a few people who've moved in from somewhere else and have become very active in serving in different capacities in the city. But overall, I would be very open. I would like to see, as we go forward, more women and more minorities serving in many capacities, not just on city council, but on our commissions and on our boards, and helping to shape the community. We need to hear from the people who live there.
Right. Now, how you've got some development going on. I mean, I used to have that big post office over there, and they've now taken that down, and they're putting some other stuff. So you also, Sheila talked about their downtown development plan. Is there some master plan going on over in Fairfax City as well?
Yeah, there's a comprehensive strategic plan. There was a strategic plan done on Fairfax Boulevard, which is 29 and 50, that weird stretch that goes from Camp Washington down to the Circle, which is, it's where 29 and 50, and we call it Fairfax Boulevard. And a comprehensive plan was done on that back in 2006, 2007. And then we had a tremendous economic downturn that kind of shelved the plans for that. So they kind of brought it back out again, dusted it off, put it out there for community outreach to get feedback on the plan. And we're going to go forward based a lot on the work that was done. My only hesitation in doing that is that in the intervening 5 years, Fairfax County has also decided to redevelop all kinds of places around us, including Merrifield.
Right, that's huge.
Fairfax Corner really came into its own in that time. They've started redevelopment of University Mall on the other side of George Mason University. All of these things are going to have an impact on what we end up doing, because we sit right in the center of the county.
Right. Well, how do you, is there something in the plan that would distinguish you from those others, so that if I'm looking to go out on a Friday or Saturday night, I look and say, oh, Merrifield has a big theater. I know they have a big theater coming in, but Fairfax City, that's where I got to go. What's the distinguishing feature?
And that's exactly, you've hit the nail on the head as far as I'm concerned, is that we don't have necessarily a distinguishing factor. Again, David Meyer talks about the fact that we don't really have an identity. When you think about Old Town Alexandria, you can say Old Town Alexandria. People here know exactly what it looks like. Historic Leesburg. Sheila was talking about the music fest, the live music on Friday night at Herndon. I've also been there. It's outstanding, and people know exactly what to expect, and it draws people from all over the area to Herndon on Friday nights. So we need something similar to that, and the community needs to decide what that's going to look and feel like. We are right next door to George Mason University. Yeah. And when I go door knocking and I point out that we are sitting right next door to the largest university in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Oh. And people are like, really, is it the largest now? And I'm like, yes, it's the largest. But I'm like, let me ask you something. When you walk around downtown, would you know that? And people are like, no, where are the students? Well, it's a good question. Where are the students? Where are the faculty members? Where's the relationship that you would expect a university of that size to have with the city it's sitting next to? And I don't understand why it is the way it is, but I would like to develop a better relationship with the university and bring those young people. And we've got film students who work there. We've got published authors on the faculty there. We've got a wonderful festival GMU does called Fall for the Book. And they actually do events at Busboys and Poets on U Street. I'm like, in DC. I'm like, okay, what if we put a Busboys and Poets in Fairfax City or something like it, so that we're bringing more of those events down to Fairfax City. To your point, it is a distinguishing factor. It's something unique. And our proximity to the university is something that I really think we need to develop.
Now, some of the smaller towns that have universities in them, they get this whole town gown conflict going. You don't think that would happen? I mean, it seems like the George Mason, so what you're saying, the George Mason students are staying on George Mason, the town people are staying in the town.
Yeah, and a lot of people like it that way. Yeah, a lot of people like it that way. There's a lot of people like, keep them, there are people, especially who live in Green Acres, right next to the university, who would like to just, put up a very big brick wall and a moat, And I'm not suggesting we should be Charlottesville.
Right.
Or anything like that. But the fact of the matter is, there is benefit from bringing people of different ages, different backgrounds. George Mason University is a very international community. And the fact that those kids opt to go to Arlington or those kids opt to go into Georgetown instead of coming into our city, it's a loss for us. I think there's a lot to be gained. And again, I don't know how many people from the city actually go onto the campus. I think we were talking earlier about a lot of people avoid it because it's confusing.
It's so confusing.
And so people are not necessarily going to the campus to take advantage of the arts, for instance. They have a wonderful fine arts center there, and the Patriot Center is there. I wouldn't necessarily say that there are droves of people going on to campus. You'd almost think that there was a moat and a drawbridge.
You really would. And when I used to be able to find where they did their theater stuff. I'm not even sure they do it in the same place. But then they built out, and now I can't find it.
Yeah, the Hilton Performing Arts Center is down in Prince William County too. But there's still a lot going on campus. And speaking of identity, Fairfax City, we're right in the middle of our Spotlight on the Arts. That we launched that. It's the 27th annual Spotlight on the Arts Festival in Fairfax City. And for a little small city that we have, we completely embrace the arts. That has really been very much a defining factor. John Mason, who is the interim executive director at the Workhouse Arts Center and is our former mayor, he definitely set a precedent or set a standard about how our city would embrace the arts, performing arts, fine arts, theater, dance, concerts. And I would like to see us do more of that and have more venues where people want to bring their performing arts groups, and also where people know that they can come and get very good, very different, very unique experiences. And that's another point that I have made on several occasions, is that people don't just consume goods and services. People keep talking about the businesses we want to bring downtown. Right. People want to consume an experience, a unique experience. That's why you travel to a different destination, is what is different about Fairfax City that we can't get at Fairfax Corner or Tyson's Corner or Georgetown.
Right, exactly. Well, I hear the music, which means we're going to be taking a break, and then we will be back and talk some more about unique opportunities in Fairfax City and some more about some other issues. So stay with us. We'll be back with Catherine Reed.
The Inside Scoop, Virginia.
Welcome back for our final segment with Catherine Reed. She is running for the Fairfax City Council, and when we left, we were talking about having something distinguishing about Fairfax City, and Catherine commented on how the prior mayor had done a lot of work on performing arts and arts in general. And so I wanted to talk a little bit more about that, because you talked about, you know, bringing it in and places to bring it in. But is there a place in Fairfax City to do that?
We have actually 3 different venues. We have Old Town Hall and the Interpretive Center at Blenheim, both of which are smaller venues. Then the Sherwood Center, the Stacey C. Sherwood Center, which opened. In fact, that's where the Mayor's Ball has been held the last 2 years, and it's a beautiful facility. But those things all kind of take place behind closed doors. I heard Sheila talking about that somebody had the good sense to build a town green in Herndon.
Right.
Well, we are in the process of expanding what is known as the Kitty Poser Garden next to the Old Town Hall, all the way down to University Drive, and do some redevelopment there. And unfortunately, what happened, when they had a bond referendum for the library and raised funds for the brand new library, and I'm sure you've been to that
it's
beautiful,
fabulous.
beautiful library.
It's a beautiful library.
And so right across the street is the Kitty Poser Garden, and I have a lot of people going, a garden? A garden?
There's a garden?
I know.
No, there's a gravel parking lot.
Do you know
there,
where the rotary? You know where the Rotary clock is?
Yes.
That's the garden.
That's the garden?
That's the garden.
Jeez.
The clock
Okay.
marks the garden. I bet you didn't know that.
I did not know that.
So when they bought up property, there was the Connaught Place, and there was a Chinese restaurant. I've been there for years, in the Weight Watchers building, which was a very unattractive building. And so they bought them and tore them down. And until the plans and all of the strategy was in place, they put a gravel parking lot. And it was temporary. That's why it's gravel. Temporary gravel parking lot. But it is right in the center of town. Yeah. And so the merchants have gotten accustomed to, as well as other people have gotten accustomed to, being able to pull in that gravel parking lot and walk a very short distance to go to the shops. So the merchants really had an issue with having that parking taken away. Even though it was temporary from the beginning, even though it was never part of the original plan to have it there, the fact of the matter is everyone's gotten accustomed to it. And the merchants really feel like their businesses are being damaged by this lack of parking.
Well, now, let me pause for just a second. Sheila talked about problems with parking, and that the studies that were done in Herndon said parking, parking, parking. Is that an issue in Fairfax City? Is that why they're so, because that's not that big of a parking lot.
It's not. Well, it's not. And we probably, I came to George Mason University in 1981. I moved into the first dorms that were ever built on that campus, which is hard to believe, but they're only GMU is celebrating its 40th year this month.
Wow.
I came in 81, it was 11 years old, into the first housing ever built there. And I used to walk into the city. I didn't have a car. I used to walk down University into the city to deposit my work study check. Every week, once a week, got a work study check. We have more parking now than I can ever recall having in the 30 years that I've been going into the city. So some of it is perception. Mm-hmm. Some of it is the fact that people don't know where to find the parking because we have redeveloped the downtown. A plaza has gone in where there used to be parking. There are buildings now. Right. And so signage has a lot to do with it. There's a free parking garage right behind the Old Town Village Plaza, but a lot of people don't even know, if they're not from Fairfax City, that it's there. So they're looking at road signs, they're looking at how to better mark the parking, how to identify parking on maps. You see them in Arlington that are on the street corner that show, like, you are here, so that people have a better idea of where the parking is. So I'm not sure that the amount is the issue. Where it's located is probably the issue, marking it well enough so that people can find it. We can always do a better job, always do a better job. They're going to do traffic studies, their own traffic studies in the city too, because traffic is always going to be a problem there. It just is. And this is something came up at a candidate forum when someone said, what are you going to do about the traffic? And I think it was Steve Stombrace who said, there's nothing to do about the traffic. The city grew up around major intersections and thoroughfares all crossing through the city. 2950, 236, and 123 all cross that 6 square miles.
And 123 is a disaster. That's how I come in, and you're always winding around that big curve, and you're just sitting there. There's no place to go.
I know.
It's a 2-lane road, and you couldn't really expand it because there's big,
you can't.
hill
You can't knock things down and that's
Yeah.
that's the difference. The county to a certain degree has an advantage. Like with the Merrifield redevelopment, you can knock down buildings, start from scratch, and build it all pristine, beautiful, lovely squares. Buildings that are set just so around a central place. We can't do that in Fairfax City. We have historic buildings, and we've got these major roads that we are not going to reroute. They've experimented with doing the traffic, going one way and then going 2 ways, and they're going to, they're commissioning their own independent traffic study to see if there's a better way of doing it. And again, feedback from the community is so critical. No one holds, has cornered the good ideas. No one really is a subject matter expert that sits on the council. We rely on both the city staff, who are experts, or they go and they get the expertise, but then you rely on the citizens to come forward and say, this is our idea, or this is what we observe, or this is what is or is not working for us. And while you're not going to solve everybody's problems or reach a consensus among 22,000 people, the more feedback you get, the better decision you make. Right. And we find that one of the things that I'm finding at the doors is that people are asking about the water treatment facility is probably the biggest issue.
That's like, do we sell it, don't we sell it issue?
Do we sell it, don't we sell it? Because if we sell it to Fairfax Water Authority, then we eliminate a estimated $40 million upgrade, maintenance, repair project on it.
Okay, that seems like a good thing.
Well, it does, except that it's an asset. It's an asset. It's a Goose Creek water treatment plant in Loudoun County. That's where we get our water from. It's upstream from the Potomac, so it's a whole different source of water than from what county people get. But beyond that, I guess I'm a little reluctant, because water is going to be the great issue of our time in the future, even more so than oil. I mean, fossil fuel will eventually run out someday. It will just run out, and so that's why we're developing alternative sources of fuel. But I don't know if you can create an alternative to water.
Yeah,
you can't really create an alternative to water, and that's one of the things I'm reluctant to let go of such an important asset. On the other hand, if you don't get the community to buy into who's going to pay for the maintenance, repairs, upkeep, just repairs to the pipeline. There's 22 miles of pipeline from that facility into the city. So you have to create stakeholders. You have to have people really passionate about giving a mandate to the city council that says we passionately wanted this or we passionately wanted that. But if it's a matter of keeping it, then people have to understand what the financial burden is going to be on the city. So we can't. I think the city council is reluctant to simply make a decision one way or the other, and everybody deals with the consequence of that.
And what is the consequence? I mean, in terms of finance, have they looked and said?
They have. They've sent something out. They sent out a lovely piece that kind of, said if we do this, this is what it looks like financially. If we do this, this is. And the fact of the matter is, there are people who felt like it was too simplistic. That there's more to it than that, and that's probably true, but keep in mind you're doing this for the general public. These are not engineers or financial economic PhDs. You're trying to simplify things so that people can grasp the major issue. But a lot of people didn't feel that we'd really explored all the possibilities. And I think it's probably going to be the toughest decision that the city council makes, and they will make that decision May 22nd. So it has nothing to do with any new person coming in. They will make the decision. There's a public outreach on May 8th, and then the current sitting city council will make that decision on May 22nd. And I don't envy them, because this is going to be something that will impact that city, our city, for decades. And at this juncture, it doesn't look like we are going to have a voting member on that water board. And so once we let go of our asset and we turn it over to somebody else, then any costs or any repairs or any pass-throughs or any restrictions comes from them. So this is a tough choice for the city of Fairfax.
So this would be selling an asset. You would still get your water from that same place, but no one actually in the city would then have any input.
That's what it's looking
voting
like.
Input on how this works.
Yeah.
It would all be up to the Fairfax Water Authority people.
Yes. And so I think we're struggling with that, and we're struggling with it because it is such a valuable asset, and it will impact future generations. It really will. And I'm reluctant, because I think clean water is going to be a huge issue all over the world. Yeah. All over the world.
Well, it definitely is, because you can see it in a lot of third world countries.
Well, of course, we do that as Rotarians.
As Rotarians,
we're always digging wells.
We're digging wells in Africa, I'm telling you.
And so we are probably more keenly aware, a little bit more sensitive to the whole clean water issue, because we are faced every day in our Rotarian projects with trying to provide clean water to people all around the world. I guess that's why I'm more sensitive to the fact that we take it for granted. You turn the tap on and it's clean water, and it's been treated, and it's fine, and we don't boil it, and it's not full of. So I'm reluctant to give that up, and I think that is going to be, for the citizens of Fairfax City, one of the really big issues. But I think, other than that, what I'm hearing at the doors too is the downtown redevelopment. And again, Sheila touched on that too, is trying to figure out what that downtown is going to look like, how you're going to provide parking, but more importantly, how you're going to bring people that support those businesses. The merchants seem to think that it's all about the parking, but my point is that we all go out to Wegmans and circle to find a parking space. We all go out to Fairfax Corner and circle to find a parking space. So if you really desperately want what's there, you figure out where to park.
Well, and the other, and I don't know, and maybe it is a signage issue, because I do go over and use, because your library is open on Sunday.
Yes.
And the library in Vienna and Oakton, the two that are closer to me, are not. And I will go to the library over there on Sunday, but I drive in underneath, I get in the elevator, I go up, I do the books and do whatever, go back down, get in my car and leave.
And drive away.
And I never go out.
And that is my whole point. We have 200 parking spaces under that library, but it's incumbent on us to get people to walk out the front door and cross the street. And we've got to give them a reason to do that. And what is right across the street is the Kitty Poser Garden. And I think the garden, just like the town green in Herndon, is going to end up being an important part of the identity of our city. I would also like to bring in a business like Busboys and Poets, which I talk about because I happen to love it. Well, everybody says that. When people who know it, I'm like, Busboys and Poets, and people are like, that would be so great, because we don't have a bookstore now. Now that Borders is closed at Camp Washington, there's not a bookstore in Fairfax City. I know, isn't that a wow? Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's
real.
Weird. That is a wow.
It's a very wow thing, and I don't think people realize. And what I love about Busboys and Poets is just it brings people together of every age group, every ethnicity. People are there for different reasons, whether it's a cup of coffee and use your computer, or to have lunch, or to go for a glass of wine, or to hold a poetry reading, or some kind of event.
Bring in the kids from GMU and the professors. That would be very nice.
And that's exactly my thought, is that we need something that brings people in the community together with people from the university in a way that is not, I think what people fear with the students coming down is all they're going to do is come down, get drunk, litter, make a lot of noise,
exactly.
Cause a lot of commotion and leave. Yeah. By having a community space, and I think Busboys and Poets provides that, you have a place to show documentaries and to have meetings of your historic friends of Fairfax. I mean, it's a place where lots of people can meet and be together productively.
Well, hopefully someone will hear us saying Busboys and Poets. Let's get that over.
I want Andy. I want to draft. I want Andy to bring Busboys and Poets. Andy, if you're listening,
all right. Where do people vote? We got 6 seconds. Where do they vote?
There's 6 different precincts, so you're voting in the same place you've always voted in Fairfax City. It's Tuesday, May the 1st, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m.